Welcome to Get Ripped Collectibles.
Gator Dave.
Miami Mike.
How we doing, buddy?
We're good, man. We're good. Ready for week 10. We're in double digits now, Mike. We're on the home stretch there, into the double digits. So good. So we got Gator Dave, Miami Mike here. Looking to pick some games. You know, we're going with our dirty dozen as usual. Chat a little college football. We got a bunch of people in the chat. Let's chat it up. Throw the questions at us. Let us know what you think. And, of course, we want everybody to subscribe if they can so we can add to the kitty. Hit that like button if you like what's going on. And, obviously, if you're in that chat tonight, chat it up and let's rock and roll. Last week, Miami Mike's week, man, 7-5. So, great week for Miami Mike. And 6-6 for Gator Dave. Ugly loss up there in Jacksonville. I had to limp through that thing, and oh God, it was ugly. It was ugly. So we'll put that game behind us. Look forward to the games this week and get things rolling. Mike, you want to throw up what we got there?
Yep. So there's a recap. Just like you said, you went 6-6. I went 7-5, but you did beat me on your matchup with the Gators and the Bulldogs.
I did. Somehow they scored way too many points. That means we got beat by too many points. So not a good thing. So
yeah. Real quick, shout out to everybody that's already in the chat. Ian, Scott, Charles, Evelyn, we see you. We appreciate you. Thanks for hopping on with us. We got 12 games, like Dave said. Dave, are you starting this week or am I? I don't remember.
You are starting this week. You know, you got the first picks there. We're heading out to up north to the Big Ten. See what they got going on there, buddy.
Yeah, one of the ugliest games of the week here. Starting it off. See, that's what we like to do, though. We like to get these ugly ones out first. So then we can get into the good stuff, you know?
That's right. That's right.
So, yeah, we do have Nebraska -3 at Michigan State. Let me go ahead and put down the recap real fast. All right. So, Nebraska lives and dies by the run this year. They have not had one game all season where their quarterback has thrown for over 200 yards. Guys average they had Jeff Sims going. He got hurt. They put in the backup. He's not really been able to do too much either. Between the two of them, they're averaging 132 yards in the air per game. Not great. The defense has really carried them, though. Nebraska is actually, believe it or not, sitting at 5-3 with a chance to be bowl eligible this week. Matt Rule has done a great job. Got to give him all the credit. On the flip side, Michigan State, they just want this nightmare of a season to be over. They've lost 6 straight. They haven't won since their first 2 games of the season when they played Central Michigan and Richmond. They also live and die by the run, but they've had a lot of issues with their quarterbacks turning the ball over. The problem for Michigan State here is they are facing the 10th best rushing defense in the nation in Nebraska. Nebraska's giving up less than 80 yards a game on the ground. The total in this one's sitting at 34.5, and I think that's pretty much right at the money. It's going to be ugly. It's going to be low scoring. Give me the Big Red in Nebraska to go into East Lansing, become bowl eligible. Give me the money line. But I'm telling you right now, this is one of those that I'm going to be watching with my hands in front of my face. I do not want to watch this game. It's going to be atrocious. Who do you like here, Dave?
Yeah, Mike, we're going to call these snooze fest games. We've got a couple of those on the slate today. So, yeah, I'm kind of with you here, Mike. So Nebraska's won 4 of the last 5. Wins over the lower end in that West. Purdue, Northwestern, Illinois. They beat Louisiana Tech. Obviously, they lost to Michigan by 38. That was earlier in the year. And Rules, you know, first year, getting things rolling. You know, I think he's on schedule. I think he's a little bit ahead of schedule. From what I read, his first year is usually pretty much garbage. But I mean, like you said, it looks like this team's going to be bowl eligible, which is pretty impressive.
Yep.
Michigan State, we all know the catastrophe that was at the beginning of the year with all the hoo-ha that's going on there, and you hate it for those kids. But they've lost to Minnesota, Michigan, Rutgers, Iowa, Maryland. And the only game that was even close was against Rutgers. So I mean, everything else has been blowouts, even against those lower end teams. I've got nothing, zero at all that tells me that Michigan State has a chance in this game. So, Mike, I'm easily taking Nebraska in the money line in this game.
Yeah, I agree with you.
All right, let's move on to one of your favorite teams, Mike. You took care of my business last week, and Georgia Southern at Texas State. But I got
Southern not State.
Huh?
Southern not State, Dave.
That's right. They're not. But I got a weird feeling about how you're going to vote on this one. So here's what we got. We got Georgia Southern favored by only 2 at Texas State, over and under 71. So Georgia Southern comes in at 6-2. They're 5-3 against the spread. Texas State comes in at 5-3, 4-4 against the spread. If we look at Georgia Southern, Bren, the quarterback's at 64%, 24.56 on yards. I mean, that's some of the highest stuff we've seen. Even as we go through the games, you're going to find out that's high for just about anybody. He's 17 touchdowns but 12 interceptions, so he kind of gives up that the foosball every once in a while. Running back Jalen White's got 591 yards and 5.6 yards a carry. Texas State comes in with our old buddy TJ Finley. The guy, I think he was wearing that yellow and purple down there at LSU at one time, but he's at 68%, 2,200 yards, not too bad, and 15-5. Their running back, pretty impressive, is Ismail Maldi, 854 yards, 7.2 yards per carry, which is pretty darn impressive. So Georgia Southern's won 4 of their last 5 games. Their only real loss to James Madison, who, in my opinion, is the best team in the group of 5 that should be going to a freaking New Year's Six bowl, but they won't.
Outside shot, though. Outside shot. If there's not enough teams that are eligible, they'd be the first.
They're going to have a chance at a bowl, Mike, but they're going to end up in the toilet bowl. They won't get a New Year's Six. That's the only bad thing. They might get to go, which fingers crossed that they do, because they're going to freaking launch anybody they play. So the Eagles are 28th on offense, 57th on defense, 88th toughest schedule. We look at Texas State. They lost to Troy. They lost to Louisiana, which they shouldn't have. Not any really big wins except for that first game of the year where they beat one of the Big Ten teams, right? Or Big 12 teams. Since that time, they really haven't beaten anybody, and they've kind of leveled off, in my opinion. They do have 22nd, ranked 22nd on offense, 91st on defense, not real good, but their schedule is 115, so it's not good. I'm gonna have to jump on your bandwagon, even though you might go the other way, Mike. I'm gonna go with the Eagles in the money line on this one, and not bet against them. What about you?
So you're getting on the bandwagon, eh? Yeah, I mean, I could see why. Georgia Southern's coming off that emotional win over Georgia State. Southern, not State. Texas State last week had Troy on the ropes. They were trailing just 13-14 going into the fourth quarter, and then it all kind of blew up for them. They got outscored 17-0 in the fourth quarter, lost the game pretty badly. But the reason they lost is because Texas State had 4 turnovers to Troy's 0. The benefit here for Texas State is they're going against a quarterback that you mentioned, Davis Brin. He's had some issues on the road this year. I think he's going to throw a couple interceptions in this game, considering he's got 8 through 3 road games this year. Give me Texas State plus the 2 to get it done at home in a get-right game here against the Eagles.
I love it. And the gut, you could tell. My gut told me that's where you were going, Mike.
You know me, Dave. You know me.
That's why I went with the Eagles, because I knew
You know
you were
me.
going with Texas State. I am starting to learn how to read you, buddy. Woo.
It's pretty
All
good.
right. Say hey to Black Ops Squishy and Hindu. They're getting it down there. So in the chat. So all right, you got the next one, bud.
I do. Real quick, we're going to drop a sponsor promo here for shopcya.com. Cover your assets, folks. This is the Gator version. It is a clear plastic bag that you need whenever you go into any stadium nowadays, concert venue, high school stadium, you name it, you need it. It's real awesome. It snaps on, snaps off. There's your clear. We're going to try this again later on in the show. But snap on, snap off, cover your assets. When you go through security, they're able to see it. When you get through security, you can snap it back on. Keep your stuff safe from weirdos who want to look at all your stuff. ShopCYA.com. Check it out. Tell them that you heard it from us. All right.
Right there at the top, you can see it. Cover your
That's
asset.
right.
That's where you
Cover
go.
your assets.
Go. All right.
So next game, we're going to go to ACC. And again, I'll try to do a little bit better with that. I need to write up a script or something just to have or start practicing in a mirror. But all right, we got ACSC football here. Boston College at Syracuse. Syracuse is a 2.5 point favorite. Syracuse offensive line this year has given up 25 sacks. They're averaging over 3 a game. Boston College has given up just 11 sacks as an offensive line. Both quarterbacks for both teams, they have the dual threat capability. You got Castellanos for Boston College. You got Schrader for Syracuse. Syracuse has literally done nothing but regress as an offense week after week this year. They started off great, scored a lot of points, and literally have scored less every single week. They're playing their worst ball right now. They've lost 4 in a row, whereas you got Boston College playing their best ball of the season. They've won 4 in a row. Boston College actually still has a shot to make the ACC championship game, believe it or not. I think Syracuse is favored here because it's at home in the Dome, and I just think BC has the momentum. They're clicking. I think the fact that it is being played inside in the Dome obviously fits well with what BC wants to do in running the football. Give me Boston College +3 here. I think the wrong team is favored. And what could be one of Dino Babers, I think, last games as Syracuse head coach. Who do you like here, Dave?
Yeah, I'm leaning that way. Yeah, Boston College at 5-3, Syracuse at 4-4. Mike talked about it. I mean, Boston College going up. Orangemen going down. The Orangemen lost to Virginia Tech by 28 last week, Mike. And that, granted, Virginia Tech is coming around a little bit.
Hey, they got a big game against Louisville this week.
Yes, they do. They do. Now, Mike, do you know how many rushing yards Syracuse had last week against paltry Virginia Tech?
I'm gonna guess not too many, Dave.
I'm gonna say 0, Mike. They had 0 rushing yards against Virginia Tech. Oh, yeah. So all those early games that Syracuse won, they're really not holding a lot of water at this point. They can't run block. Their defense, 127 out of 133. Not too good. BC runs the ball. They run the ball with their QB. Sneaky offense. Castellanos is looking good at quarterback. So Dino Babers this week in his interviews, they're in trouble when he starts talking about how we're the walking wounded right now. So the excuses have already started out of Dino. So they're not doing too good, and I'm saying this is the Gator Dave lock.
Whoa.
+3 for BC. I don't care if they're playing in the Carrier Dome. Give me Boston College and plus 3 points, Mike.
All right. I like it.
We
eye to eye
agree.
there.
All right. Let's roll over to the Big 12 on another game that I, in my gut, know before we even start that Miami Mike will be opposite of Gator Dave. This will be a head-to-head. You guarantee it. So here's what we've got. We got Kansas at Iowa State. Iowa State getting 2.5 over and under 54. So Kansas is 6-2, 4-4 against the spread. Iowa State has come back like gangbusters. Coach Campbell at 5-3. They're 5-3 against the spread. So Beanie, Jason Beanie, current quarterback at Kansas. That's probably who we're going to see. I don't think Jalen's going to be out there, but he's throwing at 61%, 11-31, 9-4. Not that great. However, Devin Neal, stud running back, 771, 6.7 yards per carry. Looking pretty good there. So over on the other side of the ball, we got Rocco Beach. He's throwing at 60%, 1702, but he's 13-6 as well. So we're bound to see interception or two in this game. I just gut feel. Their running back is Eli Sanders at 353, only 4.8 yards carry. So Jayhawks beat Oklahoma last week. They beat UCF. They beat BYU. They lost Oklahoma State. They lost to Texas by only 7. Kansas got the 18th ranked best offense in the country. Not too shabby with the 26th toughest schedule. Not bad at all. Remember that one, Mike. Iowa State playing really the lower end teams in the Big 12. They beat Baylor, Cincy, TCU, lost to Oklahoma. They have the 90th ranked offense playing the 42nd toughest schedule. Ching, ching, ching. Kansas, huge win over the Sooners last week. Okay. However, Bean threw for 2 interceptions, which wasn't too hot. You know, Oklahoma coming around a little bit here. The hope would be he cleans that up against an Iowa State team. Iowa State's really not faced an offense this good at any point this year. Okay. If you remember, Oklahoma put up 50 on the Cyclones. Okay. Keep that in mind. Good offense, put up 50. So I'm saying here, Mike, that this is a gift. Give me those 2.5 points and Kansas to roll over the Cyclones when everybody thinks Iowa State's going to make it happen. The Kansas offense is going to be too much for that D, Mike. Now, Mike, tell me why you think Iowa State's going to win.
It's funny. So first and foremost, Dave, the wrong team is favored here. What did we learn last week, Dave?
It's only 2.5 points, Mike.
See, and the worst part about this is you texted me on Saturday. How did I miss this? How did I talk about that Boise State? I'm going to learn. And then look at you now. And then look at you now. You're still falling for it, Dave. You're still falling for it, all right?
Tell me about
Red alert. Red alert, all right? Kansas is ranked. Kansas has the better record. Kansas has the better wins. Kansas is the better team. They should not be favored. But they should be favored. I'm sorry, but they are not. Kansas is coming off one of the biggest wins in their program's history last week with a win at home against Oklahoma, like you mentioned. Now they hit the road to go to Ames. Ames is not a fun place to play. And Iowa State is playing their best football of the year right now. They've won 3 in a row. Matt Campbell's got them back on track after week 3, it looked like he was probably going to be on his way out, and everybody was saying, man, he blew his big-time coaching opportunity, right? When, he declined all these other offers. He could have gone to the pros. He stayed at Iowa State. It seems to be working out now. Iowa State is 3-1 at home this year. Kansas is 1-2 on the road, with their one win on the road being a 7-point victory over Nevada. Not too great. Give me Iowa State here in a game that, again, they should not be favored. Vegas knows something that we don't, ladies and gentlemen. So give me the better defense in Iowa State to cover and get the win here. All right?
I'm an offensive guy, Mike. I'm sorry. I just can't help it. But go ahead.
That's fine. That's fine. That's fair.
Next up, Big 12.
Yeah,
By the
back
way,
to
Kelly's on.
Shout out Kelly. Shout out Kelly.
And we should be wearing Halloween costumes, if
It was yesterday. It was yesterday.
I know,
we really
but
should have done it last week. Last week really should have been the costume week. We did drop the ball there.
Sorry, guys.
All right, so back to Big Ten for some more atrocious football here, Dave. We got Iowa -5 at Northwestern in a game that opened at 29.5 for the total, which would have set the record. Would have set the record for the second week for old Iowa, but it has been bought up a little bit. I think it's sitting at like 31 now, so it is actually above that record mark. God, this is so ugly to talk about. All right, so Iowa is coming off a bye week after a tough loss at home to Minnesota in a game that really they should have won. They had a punt return for a touchdown called back in the fourth quarter. It was like with 3 minutes left in the game, Iowa would have gone up. They called it back. They ended up losing the game to Minnesota. Northwestern's coming off an emotional, hard-fought win against at home last week against Maryland. They forced 2 turnovers. They got 6 sacks as a defense, so they're playing hard right now. I think Northwestern has surprised a lot of people this year, myself included. I mean, you look at the preview that's ticking through in the middle of the screen right here. I did not have them doing well this year at all, and they have proved me wrong. The coach that came in for Pat Fitzgerald has righted the ship. He's got those boys playing. Iowa, on the opposite side, they've won 3 of their last 4 at Northwestern. Northwestern has won 3 of thear last 4 at Iowa. This one, unfortunately for Northwestern, is at Northwestern, where Northwestern is 14-25 all time against Iowa. And before Pat Fitzgerald got there, they were really bad. They were really bad against Iowa for a really long time. Iowa's quarterback situation is still absolutely atrocious. Their current quarterback, Deacon Hill, that transfer from Wisconsin, averaging just 61 passing yards a game. 61 for a D1 quarterback. In his 4 starts, he has 2 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and 4 fumbles. Northwestern is also without their starting quarterback, Cincy transfer Ben Bryant. He's injured. Their backup, Brendan Sullivan, is averaging just 90 passing yards a game. It has been sacked 19 times. 16 of those have been in the last 3 games. Not great. In the last 10 years, Iowa is 21-6-1 going into this season as an away favorite. Kirk Ferentz is 20-21 all time straight up off a bye. So really, nothing there that you can hang your hat on. Kirk Ferentz was 8-9 against Wildcats coach Pat Fitzgerald. So, I mean, like I'm saying, when Pat Fitzgerald came in, he actually made it a priority against Iowa to kind of right that ship. That was one of those teams that they had owned Northwestern for a long time, and he kind of made it a focal point to kind of try to switch that around. Pat's no longer there. So I don't think this one's going to go Northwestern's way. I think Iowa's going to find a way to get it done. Northwestern has alternated wins and losses all year. And because they won last week, that would mean this week is going to be a loss. It's disgusting. I hate it. It's one of those, again, that I'll be watching with my hand in front of my face. Iowa -5. That's my play. Who do you like here, Dave?
It's another snooze fest. So, very boring game coming up. All right, so here's the deal. Iowa comes in with the 118th scoring offense. Northwestern is better, dude. They are 106. Woo!
There you go.
Couple that with Iowa's 6th ranked defense, which we know they can play D. Northwestern not just god awful bad, 69th on scoring defense. So, no offense, defense okay. This one's easy for me, Mike. As I said, snooze fest. I'm going the under. This one's going to be about 21-10. And I'm gonna take the under in this game. Just don't think it's gonna happen. I do agree I was probably gonna win, but God, when you're talking low numbers like this and low scoring, all it takes is like a pick six and it could screw the whole thing, right? So I'm gonna go under on this one and say it's gonna be a baseball score.
All right, I like it.
All right. Let's go to the Big 12 and another head-to-head with Mike and Dave. So just a gut feel on this one, Mike. So here we go. We got Kansas State at Texas. All right. Texas is getting 4.5 points over under 49.5. So KSU comes in 6-2 against the spread. Texas is 7-1, 4-3 against the spread. K-State has Will Howard at QB, 64%, 16-28, 14-7. So he gives up those interceptions 2-1, right? Their running back getting 722 yards, 6.2 per carry, which is pretty damn good. So Texas is without their starting quarterback, right? Quentin Ewers is not there. We got Malik Murphy, who came in last week for the first time, 61%, 217 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 1 interception. However, they got a running back, Jonathan Brooks, 923, averaging 6.4 yards a carry. So K-State's big wins are over the dominating Houston, TCU, and Texas Tech. They lost to Oklahoma State. K-State's offense 13th, getting too shabby. Defense is 14th and 19th toughest schedule. So that's some pretty good numbers there, if you ask me, Mike. We look over on the Texas side of things. They've beaten the two lower end teams the last 2 weeks, BYU and Houston. They lost to Oklahoma by not much. They beat Kansas at home. Of course, they had the big win against Alabama. So, to me, we've got a little bit better resume on that side of the ball, Mike. The Texas offense is 24th, defense at 15th, 5th toughest schedule in the nation. So, not too shabby there. Obviously, Texas is operating without Ewers. But they're playing at home. That's a good thing. They're going to want to pound the ball down the KSU throat for sure. KSU's running the ball as well. I think this can be run. They're running the ball 42 times a game, 5.3 yards per carry, and they try to control that tempo. Texas, they created a lot of turnovers last week, and obviously they want to force Will Howard to throw the ball because he's 2-1 on TD to interceptions, right? So they want to stop that run, force him to turn that ball over, and I think it could happen. I really do. Texas won this game last year, 34-27 at Kansas, and I really think Texas is a little better this year, and Kansas State is slightly worse than they were last year. So I'm going to take Texas to cover the 4 points, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, in the last 4 matchups between these two, 3 of these games, including the last 2, have been decided by just 1 possession or less, so it's going to be a good game. Chris Kleiman, Kansas State's head coach, historically one of the best underdog coaches in the nation. Texas is going to still be without starting quarterback Quinn Ewers. They're still going with that backup. Give me the Wildcats here, Dave. You hit it right on the
Mike,
nail, baby. You're 3 for 3. You're 3 for 3.
I know. I am
Uh,
killing it. I
yeah,
know it. That's why I'm loving this, Mike.
I think this one's going to be down to the wire. The difference between this week and last week for that backup quarterback for Texas, this is not BYU. All right, this is going to be a much more physical, fast defense. They're going to put pressure on him. They're going to force him to make good throws. It might be a little shaky. Might be a little shaky down there in an early kickoff in Austin. So give me the Wildcats +4.
Awesome. All right.
All right.
Let's stay in the Big 12, Mike. We've got the last Bedlam game, Mike.
That's right. Real quick, Dave. We're gonna give another shot here. All right.
Let's do it.
ShopCYA.com. Clear purse. You gotta have it, folks. You gotta have it for when you go to any sporting event nowadays, concerts, weddings, bowling alleys, arcades, Target, wherever you want to go, you can use it. There's different designs on the website, but it basically goes like this. You see this? This is a clear plastic bag, folks. That is a piece of paper in the middle, just so you can get the idea of, covering your assets. It's a snap-on, snap-off process. You turn it over, you snap it on, bada bing, bada boom. You're safe, you're secure. You unsnap it when you're going through security. They check out your bag, make sure you're all good, make sure you're not bringing anything in crazy. When you go get through security, you snap it back on. Protects you from wandering eyes and creeps and weirdos trying to see what you got in your bag. It's none of their business. Make sure you cover your assets at shopcya.com. Don't get left out. Be the trendsetter. All right.
Hey,
moving
Ethan
on.
Wants to know if we're sharing lists. Not sure what he means there, but we will be putting up our picks here at the end. So we'll have our list of who's picking who, if that's who you're talking about. So
that's right.
Bam. All right, Mike.
Bam.
Go for it.
And please like, subscribe, comment if you haven't already. Really helps us out. That's all we ask. Drop a comment below. What teams do you want to see?
We've got 10 in the chat. We have 10 in the chat. Charles and Black Ops are taking up all the room in the chat, Mike, right now. And
they're killing
Linda
it.
just
killing
popped
it,
in
Dave.
with the bada bing, bada boom. So let's see what you got out there in the chat. So, all right, Mike, let's hit that Big 12 there, buddy.
All right, so let's talk that Bedlam matchup that you were referring to. So this is one of the longest rivalries in the nation that is probably going to be coming to an end, at least for the time being, because Oklahoma is transitioning to SEC football next year.
Big boy football.
So in this one, Oklahoma is a 5.5-point favorite at Oklahoma State. Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State's head coach, not too great against the Oklahoma Sooners in his lifetime, let alone while coaching. He is 3-15 all time versus Oklahoma as a coach. When he was Oklahoma State's starting quarterback in the 80s, never beat Oklahoma. So that spells a little Bedlam magic for Oklahoma State, right? This is their Super Bowl, right? No, not so much. Oklahoma's coming off a tough loss last week against Kansas, like we already mentioned. They were up at halftime, ended their undefeated season. They got no room to spare now for error for the rest of the year, and I think that we're about to see some of their best ball. Dylan Gabriel arguably had his worst game of the season last week. He had just 171 passing yards and an interception and 0 touchdowns in a game for the first time all year. After the loss, they only dropped back from 6th to 10th, believe it or not. So Oklahoma is very much still alive in the playoff hunt. Oklahoma State is sitting at 6-2, and they are ranked now. They weren't ranked, but the playoff rankings came out yesterday. They snuck in there to the top 25. So potentially Oklahoma State, still has everything in front of them as well. They got a Big 12 championship shot. Super, super far out shot at the playoffs, but it's possible. The big reason why is Oklahoma State's running back, Ollie Gordon. We've mentioned him multiple times this year. The dude is an absolute freak. He has over 1,000 rushing yards on the ground already. He will 100% play on Sundays. He's going to be a beast. The last time here in Stillwater in 2021, the Pokes were able to get the victory over Oklahoma, giving them their 8th win all time at home versus Sooners. Remember what I said earlier. This is one of the nation's longest rivalries, and that was Oklahoma State's 8th win ever at home against Oklahoma. They have lost 36 times at home to Oklahoma. I was actually initially on Oklahoma State here with a little Bedlam magic because, this is Mike Gundy's Super Bowl. He is going to do everything he can to have these guys ready. He hates Oklahoma, and this is going to be maybe his one last shot to kind of get at them in the short time being. I don't think it's going to happen. I'm going with the numbers on this one. I think Oklahoma is the better team. Give me them -5.5. I think they'll be able to bottle up Ollie Gordon just enough early to get a lead on Oklahoma State, which is going to kind of eliminate that run game a little bit for Oklahoma State. So give me the Sooners here to go into Stillwater and get it done. Who do you like here, Dave?
All right, so here's the scoop. Obviously, Sooners had a tough loss last week against Kansas. They did have their big win against Texas. I mean, they're leading the league now. They're the Big 12 at 7-1. The Cowboys are red hot right now. Their last 4 games, won the last 4: Cincy, West Virginia, Kansas, and Kansas State. Granted, Cincy's West Virginia, not too bad, but Kansas and Kansas State, they beat those guys. Okay, that's their last 4 games. Just looking at who OSU's beaten up to this point. People are kind of leaning that way. I looked at where the money was on some of the websites. The money is way on the Cowboy side right now. I mean, it's probably 70-30 on the Cowboy side.
Drinking that Kool-Aid.
But
everybody wants to throw away the Sooners already after that game last week.
Yeah, that's right. So, but let's look at some numbers. Okay, Alan Bowman, lights out once he became the starter for the Cowboys. That's when things kind of turned around, right? You talked about Ollie Gordon, the running back. He's been that steady Eddie the whole time. Yep. Like Mike said, 1,100 yards, 7.7 yards per carry. I mean, this guy's going to be first round, top 10. He'll be one of the first two selected.
270 last week, Dave. 270 on the ground.
70. Holy hell. This kid is lights out, and Bowman is killing it, okay? The last 3 games, here's where my play comes in, Mike. The last 3 games, the Sooners have given up an average of 30 points per game. Okay? We're doing math here. Call it Memphis math from Memphis, Tennessee, from Gator Dave. The last 3 games, the Cowboys have scored 40 points per game on average. I am saying the last Bedlam game is going to be more like a shootout. The offenses are rolling, and give me over 61 in this game, Mike.
All right. I like that. I think that could definitely be a 40-40 type game for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be a game you want to watch for sure. I mean, I'm telling you, that's going to be a game to watch. All right. Going over to the SEC. Let's check on. Oh, we got Anu Bus on here. Blah, 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 blah. Looking for Brunswick stew down there. Check it out, Mike. So let me start. We're going to the SEC here. So our first game at SEC's Texas A&M at Ole Miss. Another gut feel that Miami Mike might be going up head-to-head with Gator Dave.
Don't know nothing.
So we shall see. And by the way, folks, Gator Dave doesn't see the numbers at all. Miami Mike gets to see them. Gator Dave does not. So he's killing it right now, knowing where Mike has been. So, all right, here we go. Texas A&M, 5-3, 3-5 against the spread. Oof, paltry. Ole Miss is 7-1, 6-2 against the spread. So we got backup quarterback Max Johnson running for his life for the Aggies, throwing at 59%. He's at 1147. He is 8 touchdowns and 4 interceptions. That scary 2-to-1 ratio. They do have a couple of backs in Moss and Daniels, about 350 yards each, averaging 5 yards per carry. Not too shabby. But Ole Miss offense. Ooh, Jackson Dart, 64%. He's at 2080 on yards, 14-4. But people think that our boy Kiffin's all about throwing the ball. He likes to run the ball. Quentin Junkins is 700 yards. Bentley is like at 900 yards. Dart's at 326 yards. They like to run the ball, and they throw the ball around as well. This is the number 1 offense in the SEC. Not saying that the SEC is just killing on offense this year, but not too shabby. The Aggies beat South Carolina last week, which everybody's beating South Carolina this year. Big losses at Tennessee and Bama. I still think Jimbo's on the super hot seat. I don't care what anybody says, and all the money and all that blah, 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 blah. They got so much money. It's not even funny over there. Lots of issues right now. Lots of issues right now at A&M. 42nd on offense, 25th on defense. Not too bad of a defense. 8th toughest schedule. Ole Miss, their loss was to Bama at Bama. They have wins over LSU, Arkansas, Auburn. I think they can give Bama a run for the money in the West. A lot of things are going to come down to that LSU Bama game this weekend, which we're leaving alone because it's going to be an amazing game probably, right? And we don't know what the hell's going to go on. Here's the key. The defense at Ole Miss is improved, okay? So remember I talked about offense, 10th best in the nation and 41st on defense. Much improved from last year. Last year they were down in like the 80s. 41st now. They have the 4th toughest schedule in the country. Okay. Jimbo, which I hate, and his coaches playing for their jobs every week right now. Ole Miss has had 30 sacks this year. Not too bad for a defense that sucked. Had lots of targets on offense. A&M's, they're going to have to get stops against the Rebs, and I just don't think it's going to happen. Mike, I'm going to call this one a Gator Dave lock. Give me them Rebels and the money line, Mike.
Oh. Yeah, so, these real quick, actually, a tidbit off of this game onto that LSU-Bama one that you were just talking about. Nick Saban has never lost to the same quarterback twice in a row. Except for Drew Brees when he was at Purdue and Nick Saban was at Michigan State. That's the only quarterback that has ever beaten Nick Saban twice in a row. So
that's right. That doesn't even count.
Take that for what you will. All right.
There you go.
These two coaches do not like each other, Jimbo Fisher and Lane Kiffin. When all the NIL stuff started popping off, they could not help each other. Could not help it but kind of go at each other a little bit. Here's my little tidbit for you here, Dave. As good as Ole Miss's offense has been, Texas A&M's defense, pretty good. They have not given up 30 or more points to any team this season other than my Miami Hurricanes, who put up 48 on them. Other than that, no team has hit the 30-point mark. That includes Tennessee. That includes Alabama, Auburn, Arkansas. Didn't do it. Their current DC is DJ Durkin, who is the old DC for Lane Kiffin at Ole Miss. So they do have a little bit of familiarity in systems and what they want to do, obviously. Ole Miss, like you mentioned, does have an absolute elite offense. They have 3 receivers that have over 500 yards on the year. So they have options. Junkins, like you said, 9 touchdowns on the year. Dude's a stud. For Texas A&M, they could easily be in the same position as Ole Miss right now. Ole Miss is ranked number 10. Texas A&M is not ranked, but they easily could be. I mean, they had 1 possession losses to Tennessee, to Alabama. Those games go the other way. You're looking at a 1-loss Texas A&M team right now, and they're right there with Ole Miss, right there in the SEC West, right there in the playoff hunt. Unfortunately for Jimbo, his boosters do not care about what could have been. And I think that Texas A&M and Jimbo specifically, he's going to have to win either this one or that end-of-season game against LSU to kind of make sure that he still has a job. Is he going to do that? I don't know. They're going to be good games, I can tell you that, but it's definitely an uphill climb. I'm going to go with the under here, Gator Dave. The under 54. I think A&M is going to be able to put some pressure on Jackson Dart. They have a guy named Edgerrin Cooper who has 8 sacks by himself for this Texas A&M defense. They are aggressive. They are physical. They're playing some of their best ball. Give me the under here to kind of slow down that Ole Miss offense, and it's going to be a little ground and pound, grinded out of the mud kind of game. I'm thinking like 28-24, that kind of deal. So give me the under.
Interesting. Hadn't thought about that one there, Mike. But that low total at 54 makes a lot of sense. But I think that low total tells you how much everybody thinks of Texas A&M's offense. So
yeah, true.
But
all right,
good call. So
we're gonna head to Pac-12 football here. One of the best games of the week. A lot of people have been looking forward to this one. What way, Dave? What way?
Fred West.
That way. We got Washington -3 at Southern Cal. It's going to be a really good game. USC is skated by the skin of their you-know-what the last 6 weeks, barely beating teams that they should be absolutely destroying. Their offense is elite. Their defense is dog water. They are terrible. It's a typical Lincoln Riley team where the offense and the skill position players are studs, first-round picks going into the NFL, and their defense is like a deer in headlights. It's an absolute joke. I don't understand how this is like a year in and year out thing for Lincoln Riley's teams, and he hasn't been able to right the ship yet. As far as defense, it's crazy because once he does, I mean, watch out. I mean, it's going to be devastating. In the last 5 weeks, USC is 3-2, with their 3 victory margins being a combined total 10 points against teams like Colorado, Arizona, and California. Not great. The losses were at home against Utah and an ass-kicking at Notre Dame. I think this one is going to go more similarly to that Notre Dame game. Washington's defense, I think, is going to be the difference. But don't get it twisted. Washington's defense is not as elite as a lot of people have pegged them throughout the year. Through the first 4 or 5 games of the season, Washington had a top 10 defense, top 10 offense. But that was before they really played anybody. Now it's kind of evened out a little bit more. I fully expect the Huskies offense to find success against this USC defense. It's like Swiss cheese. There's holes everywhere. But I think this is the one where Washington keeps their hopes alive. I think they've had this game scheduled or circled on the schedule all year long. And this is one where the Huskies go in, get the win at USC, give USC their 3rd loss of the season, knock them out of the top 25 finally for good, and kind of puts their playoff hopes and aspirations all the way in the dirt. Also, Washington has a super tough stretch, though, I will say, coming up. So this is one, obviously, that they have to keep their hopes alive for the playoffs and the Pac-12 championship. But they have USC this week. They have Utah next week. They have Oregon State and Washington State to close it out. That's their last 4-game stretch. That's a tough stretch. So I personally think that Washington is going to stumble against one of those 4, if not more. Not this one. Washington's going to be able to handle business here. They're going to be able to do what they need to against Caleb Williams to bottle them up as much as possible. Give me Washington money line here against the Trojans. Who do you like, Dave?
Yeah, I'm the same way on Washington. I think that they did put it to Oregon, but they're going to stumble. I think Oregon. I'll be honest with you. I think right now, I know we don't have Oregon on the schedule. I think just opportune time since we're talking West. I think Oregon might be the best team in the country right now.
Whoa,
the country? Yes, sir. I really think that they've got things coming together.
Bo Nix?
I look forward.
Your guy, Bo Nix?
As much as we hated Bo Nix a couple of years ago, Bo Nix is like an old man now. We've talked about those QBs.
He's not like an old man. Dude's like 40 years old. He's been in the league forever.
6 years forever. But I think they're one of the I'm telling you, to me, they deserve to be one of the top 4 teams. But Washington's going to stumble. Oregon's going to win the Pac-12, and hopefully they end up in the playoff because I think they're going to give people a run for the money. All right, so let me talk about Washington and USC. So Washington, last 4 games, okay, margin of victory and average of 6 points. Not too good. And this is against the 2 Arizona teams, and throw Stanford in, and, of course, Oregon, okay? USC's lost 2 of their last 3 games. 2 losses are to Utah, which is, amazing defensive team. We just got slaughtered by Oregon, who I just talked about, and Notre Dame, who I think is a respectable team at this point. And they only beat Cal by 1 point last week, okay? Now, South Carolina transfer Sean Lloyd, averaging 7.7 yards per carry for the Trojans, looking awesome. Last year's Heisman Trophy winner, Caleb Williams, he's throwing it around 26, 46, 68%, 9.6, 25 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, looking pretty damn good. But Mr. Penix on the other side of the ball, 29, 45, 68%, 24 and 6. But he's looking pretty damn good too. Let me tell you USC's biggest problem, and it's 2 words. Alex Grinch. Alex Grinch is the defensive coordinator for the USC Trojans. He's the hot garbage that our boy Lincoln Riley brought over from Oklahoma to USC. And it's just amazing. It so reminds me, Mike, of Dan Mullen and his boy, his defensive coordinator. Grantham, yeah. Oh my God, it just reminds me of the same thing. Just garbage and garbage to garbage. Why are you doing this? And he's looking like an idiot. And I think USC is going to lose a couple of more games. And God forbid next year they're going to Big Boy Conference. It ain't going to be the conference that he was.
They're going to a defensive conference.
Yeah, and he was worried about going to the SEC when he was at Oklahoma. That's why the damn guy went to That's why he went to USC, because he was scared of where Oklahoma was going. So, I don't know. This guy's going to have to get off his ass, go to the NFL, or find a freaking stud defensive coordinator. All right, my thoughts. USC played down to the wire, gave up 49 against Cal. Okay? They're not going to be able to hang with the Huskies, dude. Not at all. When it all comes down to it. Granted, it'll be a nice little shootout, but Washington's got a decent defense. It's not all that, but it's about a bazillion times better than this silliness with Alex Grinch. So give me Give me Washington the money line here.
Yep, I'm with you.
All right, let's roll over to very, very interesting game, and I guess this is the one we're not going to agree on, Mike. So because I missed the last one, so and I feel quite strongly about this one. So we've got Notre Dame -3 at Clemson, over under at 45. So Notre Dame comes in at 7-2, 6-2-1 against the spread, quite strong. Clemson is a massive 4-4. And, of course, everybody thinks Clemson's all that. That's why they're 2-6 against the spread. Notre Dame has our boy Sam Hartman. He's rolling at 65%, 21-26, 18-5. Their running back estimate 901 yards, 6.2 per carry. On the other side, who I thought at the beginning of the year was going to be the man, Cade Klubnik is clubbing it. He's 64%, 1947, 13-5. Not just god awful bad, but he's not getting it done. Shipley, the running back, only 515 yards, 4.6 yards per carry, which isn't not what we've seen from him in the past. The Irish have 2 losses, obviously, to the number 1 team in the nation, Ohio State, against Louisville, who's now ranked up there like number 2 behind Florida State in terms of the ACC, right? And they did have Irish had big wins over USC and Duke. Notre Dame's offense ranked 12th, defense ranked 10th, with the 6th toughest schedule. I mean, that's pretty freaking impressive. And, when you look at the numbers. Clemson, okay, they've beaten Wake, Syracuse, those cellar dwellers there in the ACC. And we know the ACC's probably got 4, 5 respectable teams. So they lost to NC State last week at NC State. Clemson offense ranked 63rd, Mike. 36th on defense, which is down quite a bit from where they're used to. They're usually in the top 10. They're down to 36. 18th toughest schedule. They got a serious turnover problem in the red zone. Just an FYI there. Most are thinking, no way is Clemson going to lose a home game. No way that's going to happen. Dabo and his team have not gotten with the program. They're not with the transfer program portal. NIL, not sure where that's going over there. But they got big issues. They got issues on the offensive line. They got no big-time receivers. Mike, when was the last time we didn't have we couldn't talk about some receiver from Clemson that's going to be in the first round, maybe second next year?
Yeah,
I mean, they got nobody. They got injuries is another issue. And, of course, that's a Dabo, deal as well. But I think Sam Hartman's going to love coming back to Clemson and feeling pretty good about himself, kicking some of that orange ass. He's much better than Klubnik. Give me the Irish and the money line here and the Gator Dave lock.
Yeah, I'm with you ultimately. I don't see how this one goes Clemson's way, but we'll talk about it. So last year in South Bend, Clemson lost to Notre Dame by 21, and that Notre Dame team is not near as good as they are this year. Like you mentioned, they got Sam Hartman, who's absolutely clicking. He's got a confidence and a swagger going with him and that team to where, they think that they can beat anybody on any given day, which as they should. It's Notre Dame, right? Nobody, and I mean nobody, is giving Clemson a shot in this game. They've done nothing but regress this year. Dabo, he's starting to feel the pressure after 2 straight losses and 3 losses in their last 5. Feeling it to the point where, I don't know, did you hear his rant on his Monday call show?
Yeah, with the
it was awesome. It was awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely awesome. For those that don't know, there was a guy that called in. His name is Tyler from Spartanburg, and he will forever be probably lore now, as long as Dabo is at Clemson. But basically, he called into Dabo's show and wanted to know why Dabo was making $11 million a year and only performing with a 4-4 record. Dabo let him talk for about 2 minutes, cut him off, and then spoke for about 6 minutes and absolutely gave it to this guy. I highly recommend you go give it a listen. It's good stuff. But when you look at Clemson's wins this year, there's still a lot to be desired. They beat a 3-5 Charleston Southern team. They beat a 4-4 Florida Atlantic team, 4-4 Syracuse team, 4-4 Wake Forest team. Combined records on those 4 wins, 15-17 against those opposing teams. Not great. They have yet to beat a team this year with a winning record. 3 of those losses, though, were only by 1 possession, and this season could have looked completely different for Clemson up to this point. But just like what we were talking about earlier with Texas A&M and Jimbo, boosters don't really care about what it could look like. They care about what it does look like. And unfortunately for Clemson, they are running into an absolute buzzsaw with this Notre Dame team that right now has 2 losses but still has a shot at that college football playoff. I mean, if they win out and they have some things go their way, they could easily find their way in there in that 4 spot to get in and have something to play for still. Sam Hartman, like we mentioned, absolutely balling. Estemi, the running back, Audric Estemi for Notre Dame, absolutely balling. He's averaging 100 yards a game on the ground this year. He's got 12 touchdowns. Notre Dame's defense has given up 30 points a game just once all year long. Believe it or not, Clemson's defense has actually been better overall than Notre Dame's. But I think the big story here is going to be Will Shipley. Like you mentioned, Will Shipley's kind of had a rough year. Not really what we're typical of seeing. He's in concussion protocol right now, so he might not even play in this one. Clemson's got a backup, though, named Phil Maffa. He's going to be a stud. He can absolutely tote it. He'll be able to kind of fill in that role for Shipley if Shipley's not able to go. I think this line is really low. Notre Dame only being a 3-point favorite, I got this closer to like a 7.5 point game where Notre Dame should be able to handle them pretty good, especially when you look at Sam Hartman and Clemson. He's had history against Clemson in the past. Last year specifically, he had 6 touchdowns in this stadium in Death Valley against Clemson in a 51-45 double overtime loss when he was still with Wake Forest. I know that has been on his mind going into this one. He would love to get revenge at Dabo and those Clemson Tigers for those times that he had at Wake Forest and came up a little bit short. I think he gets it done here. Give me the Irish as well. Money line to kind of stay alive here with the playoffs on the line.
Absolutely. I mean, I can't say enough. I mean, I looked at a number of, actually looked at a couple of Clemson sites, and they were talking about how Dabo is just being a freaking hardhead, and he's stuck
in his ways, right?
Yeah, it's going to put him behind because he's got the deal where if you commit to Clemson, you don't take visits. Right. He's like the only coach that's that way. And
I respect that though. I mean, especially in this day and age where you got guys that are bouncing over. I mean, I don't think that's one. And that now these guys are, they can take visits and now they're making money off visits, Mike. They're getting $5,000 just to go take a visit. And right.
And I mean, even Saban's letting people go on visits. And there's a receiver, and I can't remember his name, BJ, whatever. He's from Florida, and he committed to Clemson, and it's about to bust. I mean, because of where they are and the hype that Florida's getting. Granted, we're probably if we're 7-5, we're awesome. 6-6, probably we're going to be. But there's hype in Florida, and this kid is probably going to end up coming back to Florida, and I don't know. He's living like a damn boomer right now, and he's got to get off his ass. So,
well, you think about
Mike.
too, right? So, Clemson hired Garrett Riley, Lincoln Riley's little brother,
Yeah, I mean,
to
God
come
dang.
in, lead the offense after he did what he did for TCU. But here's the thing, just like what you're saying, Dabo has his ways, and he didn't bring Garrett Riley in to run Garrett Riley's offense. He brought Garrett Riley in to run the Clemson offense, and that's the problem. That's the problem. And he kind of alluded to it on that Monday call. He brought up the fact that Tony Elliott, the head coach for Virginia now, who used to be the OC at Clemson, had all that success with him. He said he had never called a play before he gave Tony Elliott those reins, right? Because he was giving him the Clemson offense, stay in the system, run the system. It's not working. It's when you run into that wall and you got to make changes, Dabo's not doing it. So it's going to be real interesting. And, he, as much as Clemson fans are fed up with Dabo, he's kind of fed up with them at this point too. So it'll be real interesting to see how the end of this season goes. And I don't know. Dabo is very adamant about if Clemson fans want him gone, he is happy to go elsewhere and coach at a different position and at a different school. But man, it's not good in Clemson right now for sure.
I'd give my right arm to have Riley be the offensive coordinator for the Florida Gators. My God, I'd love that guy down there. I mean, it would be absolutely amazing. But Jimbo's just, he is just about as hard headed as any coach that's out there right now, and I think it's going to be to his detriment. And the team is just, it's going to get further and further behind, and we're gonna see a deterioration in where they end up this year. And if he doesn't get off his ass, if he doesn't get anybody from the portal another year, dude, it's just it's going to hell in the handbasket. No question about it. So
it'll be interesting. I like what you're saying. I think they'll give him another shot. I think he'll definitely be their coach next year. But shoot, you lose a game in those first 3-4 weeks next year. Ooh, boy, it's all that heat is right back on.
It's going to be an ultimatum, and he, they're going to tell him he better get somebody out of the portal. He's not going to be that. I don't think anybody can be that stupid. It's just kind of like the whole Billy Napier thing, and the fact that Napier is going to need an offensive coordinator next year. He's going to have an offensive coordinator next year. If he doesn't, he's going to get fired. So, it's going to happen. There's already writing on the wall there. So if he doesn't, he's the dumbest guy on the planet Earth.
Hey, but to his credit, Clemson hadn't done anything before he got there, right? He turned that program around.
Do that. And a lot of people,
they owe him a lot. A lot of those fans should be a lot more appreciative. But at the same time,
a lot of people are saying it's QB. It's the quarterbacks that have come in there.
Who's he had? He had Taj Boyd, Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence.
That's it. Those
are studs.
That's the time span.
At running back, you had ETN. You had, before that, CJ Spiller. He's had studs at the skill position, like you mentioned. Yes. But this year, you're right. There's been a lot of transfer movement. He had a lot of guys leave his team and not join the team. So it'll be interesting for sure.
It's going to be interesting for sure.
So we got 2 games left here.
Let's talk about your team.
That's right. The cardiac canes, as we love to call them. So we got Miami -4.5. They're playing at NC State this week. It's a night game. It's going to be a little chilly in North Carolina. NC State has had major issues with consistency at the quarterback position this year. They got one standalone above the rest receiver in Concepcion. Past that, they don't really have too many guys that are kind of a go-to. The running game has been all but non-existent. They do have a pretty opportunistic defense, though. They can make you pay if you make mistakes. They got DBs that can turn the ball over. They got front seven that can get after the quarterback and put some pressure on him. That doesn't really bode too well for Tyler Van Dyke as of late. God, man, you just don't really know which version of this kid you're going to get week in and week out. It's just straight roller coaster. So, believe it or not, Miami still has an outside shot at the ACC title. If we win out and a couple things go their way, they still have a shot at it. Super uphill climb, though, and they got to win out. But it's all really going to depend, again, on which version of Tyler Van Dyke we're going to see for the rest of the season. His last 3 games, he's thrown 7 of his 8 interceptions on the year. And it just seems like he's really struggling to go through his progressions. He's taking greedy shots into triple coverage downfield instead of checking it down to 2 wide open guys in the flat or across the middle. He's just not looking. He's just not going through his progressions, and he's kind of just forcing some bad throws into bad coverages. But when he's on, I mean, the dude is on. If you look at his stats from a macro level for the entire season, they're great. I mean, they're 16 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. He's got 2,000 yards. If you were looking just at that, 70% completion percentage, great, right? But he's struggled. And in the games that we've lost, he's had 3 interceptions or more. So, he's got to get right. The good news for him is he's had success against NC State before. Last year, they were able to put up 40 points on this NC State defense. So he's going to be comfortable. He's going to be confident, but that's a little worrisome for me because he's going to make some stupid throws. I know he is because he's going to have that confidence to kind of just do what he wants to do. You look at the other side with NC State, Dave Doran. Did you see his interview last week post-game?
No, I didn't see it.
I love this guy. Absolute football guy, right? So
Always loved the guy.
Steve Smith Sr., the old Carolina Panther wide receiver, Utah U alum. He was on College Game Day last week, and he basically called NC State a basketball school that, they're just trying to get through the rest of the football season, get to the basketball season to, move on or whatever. Dave Doran heard that, and he was not too pleased about it. He basically called out Steve Smith in the post-game interview, said he could kiss his ass, and he doesn't know what he's talking about, and that he should do his research. So I love that. I love that fire from that coach for sticking up for his guys. They got the win last week against Clemson. Kind of shut them up a little bit, shut up a lot of critics. So they're riding a little bit high right now. They're a little closer together as a team. They're kind of banding together. All in all, I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Miami's defense is going to be the difference maker in this one. NC State's quarterback position has been anything but consistent between Brennan Armstrong and now their backup. I'm drawing a blank. I think it's C.J. Morris. They can't get anything going. They're turning the ball over. They have issues completing the ball. I think both of them have less than 60% completion percentage on the year. Just not great. I think that defense for Miami is going to be able to shake them up. Ruben Bain. Remember the name? Ruben Bain.
There ain't no remembering that mother.
Absolute stud.
Badass.
True freshman.
He's the best player on that team.
Oh, absolutely.
The best player. Best Hurricane right now.
Yep. True
Best
freshman.
Hurricane.
He's going to be a freshman All-American. He has a shot to be an outright All-American as a freshman. Absolute monster. He's going to be a savage. He plays like Khalil Mack. I mean, that's the best comparison that I could, give him. He's going to be an absolute dog for us for years to come. I think he's going to have a sack or 2 in this one. They're going to be able to cause some fumbles, cause some turnovers. Give me the Canes to get it done. It's going to be ugly. I don't see this one being a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. But I think they'll be able to do enough to get it done, get the cover, -4.5. Give me the Canes.
All right. So here's my take. So Miami's got 2 losses. One, to me, doesn't count. The one at Georgia Tech. North Carolina, they got beat. Wins against Clemson and University of Virginia. NC State won 3 of the last 5. Wins over Clemson. Everybody's beating Clemson, Mike. They beat Marshall and UVA. Lost to Duke by 19. Kept Louisville to 3, which is pretty damn impressive because now Louisville's like that team, right behind Florida State, between Florida State and your Canes.
We still got Louisville on the schedule.
I know that yeah. You guys, let me talk about Florida State when we're done here. By the way, remind me. I want to talk about Florida State when we finish your game. So, Carter Finley Stadium, not an easy place to win. Dave Dorn, stud. He's one of those coaches. You just talked about it, Mike. I mean, Mike's sitting there talking about the opposing coach and how much he likes him and how great he is. I mean, he's one of those coaches you love, right? I mean, when your arch rival are saying good things about him, he's a great coach. So I feel the same way about Dorn. But honestly, I think Miami, they're all clicking. I think you guys could beat any team in the ACC right now. Especially now that North Carolina's gone down. I think if you're clicking and doing all the right things, I think you've got what it takes to beat any team. NC State's offense is not that good. And Mike alluded to the fact the quarterback position is the issue right now. I mean, that poor Dave Dorn, right? I think Miami's going to create a couple of turnovers on the Wolfpack. And I think the Canes are going to win this one and give me the Canes in 4.5 points. So, right there with you, buddy. Now, I want to talk about Florida State. So I heard a stat today when I was driving home and I was listening to college football information, and they were talking about the top 12 teams. Okay, of the top 12 teams, the only team in the top 12 that is not playing like a top 12 team, Florida State. So everybody has to play somebody but the criminals. So again, that easy ass damn schedule that they've got, it just makes me want to vomit. I don't know. I just had to bring that up. Now.
You know who they play next week?
Who do they play next week, Mike?
The old Hurricanes, brother.
So your team has a chance. So, I'm bitching right now, but your team has a chance. And by the way, last game of the year, my Gators have a chance too. Granted, we're not ranked, but damn it, one of us need to beat those knuckleheads because they ain't that good. They don't deserve to be number 4 in the nation. So, boom, I'm going to leave it at that, Mike. Any comments there?
No, it's going to be – that's kind of the only potential thing that I think could play against Miami in this game against NC State is if they F up and start looking ahead to next week, because that's, arguably their biggest game of the year. No, 100%.
Yeah, but you got to think, way too inured a coaching staff to let that shit happen. I don't see it happen. I don't see it.
I like Cristobal. The good news about Cristobal is historically in the past, typically in November, he handles business. He gets his guys right. They run the fourth quarter program. That's what they call it in the offseason to kind of get them through this last bit of the season, last stretch of the season. And to your point, Florida State's not really playing anybody this week. They're going to be riding real high going into that game next week against Miami. Real confident after that win last year as well in Miami. That's going to be a good game to talk about next week. I'm looking forward to that.
Absolutely.
For the show.
Absolutely. It's going to be fun. So Novoski rolls in here, Novoski Segers, and he's giving me crap about my poor Gators. How about them dogs, Gator Dave? Yeah, how about them dogs? Yeah, we didn't do well. But Novoski, if you listened to the show, Gator Dave called the over on that game, which that's what you're here for, right? Gator Dave called the over, and it was the over. Had you listened to Gator Dave, you'd have won the money, right? Boom. All right. speaking of the Gators, let's do this. We got Arkansas at Florida in the swamp on Saturday, noon kickoff, a first time ever, Mike, blackout game. And by the way, I don't have.
Y'all are doing a blackout at noon?
Well, it was a blackout.
Who was in charge of that?
Mike, it was a blackout like a month and a half ago, and then we got dicked because Arkansas sucks, so it's a noon game. So now we have a blackout on a noon game, which is not good. And Gator Dave has no black gear for the game, so he's going to go down and purchase something down there. So, but I'll find something to get all Gator Dave up, and all that stuff. I'll see you here, there, Navoski. So, all right. So here's what we got. We got the Gators playing Arkansas. Arkansas comes in at 2-6. It's not as bad as you think when you hear what I got to say. 4-4 against spread. Gators 5-3, 4-4 against spread as well. So Arkansas has another one of those 7-year quarterbacks in KJ Jefferson. He's at 65%, only 1547. He's another 2-1, Mike, though. 14 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. You got to like that 2-1 if you're on the other side. Running back room with Arkansas, not that good. They got 3 guys, had bit over 200 yards, 3 yards per carry. Not too good. Their offensive line, Mike, is worse than the Gators, which is like calling them the kiss of death. So not good. So we got 2 offensive lines that aren't that good, so we got quarterbacks running for their lives, right? But Mertz has done a damn good job considering his underachieving offensive line. Dude's at 76%. That would be 3rd in the nation in percentage completion rate, which I still say, damn. We all talked about how this guy was going to be dog shit coming in from Wisconsin. Congrats to this kid and what he's done, and Billy and getting him there, because it's pretty darn impressive compared to where he was at freaking Wisconsin. 21-27, 14 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, Mike. They got 2 stud backs. They got Johnson at 520 yards, 5.5. ETN at 449 at 5.9. Arkansas has lost their last 5 games, Mike. Oh, shit.
6. Last 6.
6. Well, I was only looking at the 5. So, but, it's all SEC West teams. Mississippi State, Razorbacks. Their offense is ranked 71st, defense 48th, 16th toughest schedule. They're having a lot of trouble running the ball. Mike, they've allowed 31 sacks this year, the worst in the SEC. They make us look like we've got an offensive line, which is that's impressive, Mike. Florida got their butt kicked obviously last week against the Dogs. They've beaten Tennessee. They've beaten South Carolina. They're ranked 66th on offense, 48th on defense, 29th toughest schedule. I was at the game there in Jacksonville. Opening drive, Florida runs down and scores a touchdown. I'm like, damn, that's good. My wife, who is Nirvana, who's a Georgia fan, sends me a text and says, we're in trouble. I go, hon, I don't think so. And Gator Dave was right. But it was an interesting game. Couple of stupid damn turnovers. They knocked the ball out of Mertz's hands twice. Blocked a punt. We did finish with a couple of scores, which was good, so it wasn't quite as embarrassing as it could have been. All right. So Kenny Guyton is the new offensive coordinator at Arkansas, Mike. So they fired their dude, that's been around.
Dan Enos.
Dan Enos been here, there, and everywhere with everybody, like a freaking hoe dog or whatever. But
The old
so
Wichita State coach, Dave. Shout out Ted
okay,
Lasso.
okay, all right, yeah, whatever. They're gonna try to
And our
load the
guy
box.
Ian.
Yeah, they're gonna try to load the box, okay, and have Mertz beat them. But I can tell you, the thing that I've seen, if being Gator Day, watching my team at the beginning of the year, I would never see four receivers out there at any time in the first 4 to 5 games. Now I'm seeing four receivers. So I think Mertz can beat this team if they try to load the box. If they don't, we'll run all over their ass. I think it's going to be a close game. I'm a little leery about the points and, the fact that, if I go this way, we got to win by a touchdown. But I'm feeling pretty good, and this isn't a homer Gator Dave. This is analytics Gator Dave, which most of you know that's the way Gator Dave rolls. He's all about the analytics. So I'm gonna say, with this being a home game, give me them Gators to cover those 6 points there, Mike. Come back at me, baby. Come back at me.
We'll see. We'll see. So, like you mentioned, Arkansas has lost their last 6 in a row. They started the season 2-0. They're now 2-6. But you look at those losses, it's not quite as bad as you would think. 5 of those 6 have only been by 1 possession. And teams that they faced in those 6, LSU, Alabama, Ole Miss, gave them all a game, right? They're coming off a bye week after scoring just 3 points against Mississippi State. Like you mentioned, that's what ultimately got that OC Dan Enos fired. While it's an outside shot that Arkansas still has a chance at a bowl game, it's a bit of an uphill climb. It's doable, though. They beat y'all this week. They got Missouri last week. I think Auburn is one of their final ones. So they got a chance. They got a chance, to say the least. KJ Jefferson, though, like you mentioned, he has not been great this year at all. For as long as he has been playing for this team, he really has struggled this year running the ball. Before last year, years prior, he has been a serious dual threat guy. But this year he's really, really struggling to run the football, and that's because of the offensive line that you mentioned, giving up 4 sacks a game right now. The good news for Arkansas, though, is Florida, on the flip side, has trouble getting pressure on the quarterback. They only have 11 sacks on the year as a team. Florida's coming off an absolute thumping by Georgia last week. A real momentum killer, kind of a real gut check. But to your point, you mentioned earlier in the show, Florida didn't quit. Y'all scored in the second half. You put up a couple points there late. That's something that we haven't really seen from Florida in that Georgia-Florida matchup in these last couple years. Usually they kind of get down and they get buried. And they still kind of got buried, but they kind of poked a couple fingers out of the ground, a little bit in the end of that game. Couple stats for you here. Florida is 10-2 all time versus Arkansas. They are 5-0 at the Swamp, have never lost at home. But since 2010, these teams have only played 3 times. Florida is 2-1 in those last 3, and they've sort of alternated. So they played in Gainesville, won in Gainesville, went to Arkansas, lost, played back in Gainesville, won, and now they're back in Gainesville for this one. I think this one's an ugly game. I think it's a ground and pound type contest. I think they're going to try to get the ball out of Mertz's hands and kind of keep him in the system, right? Keep him from doing too much. Keep it on the ground with ETN and the other running back Johnson. I think Florida could definitely pull this one out to become bowl eligible here. But give me the Razorbacks here, Gator Dave, plus the 6 points. I think it's too many points. I think Arkansas is going to give them everything they got. Sam Pittman, We talked about last year how we thought this guy is kind of the perfect fit for Arkansas. He kind of embodies what they're about. But man, he is 100% on the hot seat right now. And I think that he's going to have these guys ready to go for this one. I don't love it. I don't love it at all. But give me Arkansas +6 here.
Yeah, it's a tough call. I mean, I'm definitely with you. I think it could be a close game. I think just me being there and cheering my team on could get at least 3 points, Mike.
Yeah,
I mean,
and your new black gal gear, right?
yeah, and of which I have to purchase. Which I will purchase once I get down there for the game. But it is going to be a close one. I mean, it's a good call, Mike. I mean, Arkansas's had a tough freaking road to hoe, no question about it. But I mean, they just don't seem to have things together. And in my opinion, you're trying to bring in some new guy and all these changes. It's going to be tough. So, a lot of it's fingers crossed, but I still feel pretty good about my Gators here. So we'll see.
Right on.
Very exciting week 10, Mike. Double-digit week. And I'm telling you, I cannot thank all the participants in the chat that have been out there. I mean, we've got 10 or 12 that have just been rocking and rolling out there, and we do appreciate all the folks that have been out there in the chat with us tonight. It's awesome. And maybe we if the Irish win, we might do a car bomb. Let me tell you, if the Irish win and the Canes win and the Gators win, we'll do a car bomb on the show. But we got to have Irish, Canes, and Gators to win. We'll do a car bomb.
Man of the people.
You guys. That's right. Yeah, we got to be a man of the people there, Mike. You know how I am. So, but all good. Great week. It should be exciting now that we got the college football playoffs. One thing, Ms. Gator Dave Nirvana, Nirvana Bulldog, she mentioned the fact that when do we start talking about the playoffs? So, maybe next week we start talking about where the playoff standings are and so on and so forth. I know this week is the first week they came out, and we have run quite long today, but it's been a good show. But maybe we spend a couple minutes talking about the playoffs next week and where the teams.
Hey, I got my top four. I don't know about you, but I got mine listed as Michigan, the cheaters. All right, they're getting it done right now.
Yeah.
Have you seen the stuff with the scandal, right? Of all that stuff going on.
I'm all aware.
There's just new stuff coming up daily. Did you see he was on the Central Michigan sideline?
Yeah, he was at the Shark Humpers game.
Oh my God.
He was on the same sidelines as freaking McElwain. And
did you see the sunglasses he was wearing at 10:30 at night with the little blue light? Yeah, it's getting good. It's getting good there. But so I got Michigan 1. I got Georgia 2. I got Ohio State 3, and then I got Florida State 4. And then I got Oregon and Washington kind of right there. I got Washington above Oregon just because they beat them, but I'm with you. I think Oregon is one of the top 4 teams in the nation right now, for
Absolutely.
Sure.
And I'm totally with you. I'm Michigan, I'm Georgia, I'm Ohio State, and except number 4, as much as I hate, they've lost the game, but I feel like Oregon's where it is. We'll see down the road, but that's kind of where I am. I'm totally with you on that. Without a doubt. Cool. All right, man. So, thanks everybody. It was an awesome show tonight, and thanks for participation.
Let me throw up the recap real quick for this week.
Yes, sir. So, let's do that.
We're both on Nebraska. You're on Georgia Southern. I got Texas State. We're both on Boston College. You are on Kansas. I'm on Iowa State. I'm on Iowa. You got the under in the Iowa Northwestern game. I got Kansas State. You got Texas. I got Oklahoma in Bedlam. You got the over in that one. I got Texas A&M, Ole Miss under. You got Ole Miss outright. We're both on Washington. We're both on Notre Dame. We're both on Miami. And then you got your Gators, and I got the Razorbacks here going against you. And that's our Week 10 picks.
Hey,
if you haven't already, go ahead.
Hey, we got 11 people in the chat right now. Somebody want to throw up a question, comment, whatever before we sign off? I know we're running along, but damn it, you took Texas State.
I did, man.
Who's the dumbass that took Texas State?
Hey, whoa.
I'm kidding.
Just because you want to now jump on the bandwagon when it's gotten a little full down there in Statesboro,
you're the one that told me to get on the bandwagon, man. You know?
Yeah.
I mean, geez Louise.
But see, you should have taken note, because now that I'm off it, it's for a good reason. So that's all I'm going to say on that one right there.
You know your Texas, your Georgia Southern team. Who else?
I will say a game that we did not talk about is Air Force Army. We got that Service Academy matchup again, and if you remember correctly, I don't know, it's something stupid. It's real low. It's like 33, 34, something like that. But those Service Academy games,
just smoke them.
83% to the under in those Service Academy games. I think Air Force is like an 18-point favorite in it. It's crazy. But yeah, those unders, watch the unders in those Service Academy games. And if you guys haven't, please like, subscribe, comment if you haven't already. Really helps us out.
Hey, we got a question. So explain why Florida is so bad it caused Georgia to go from 1 to 2. It has nothing to do with what and Novoski. It has nothing to do with the Florida game. It has more to do with Ohio State's wins. Ohio State. And I've heard this multiple times in the last couple of days, but it's Ohio State's win at Notre Dame, and what was their other big win? They had another big win. That's why
Notre Dame, right? Oh no, you just
Notre
said
Dame.
Notre Dame.
Who's the second one? There's another. There's another game that Notre Dame had against a decent
Penn State
team.
Penn State, right?
Penn State, that's it. So that's it, Novoski. That's why Ohio State's number 1. Mike and I are gutting it here at Michigan at number 1, and that's really a lot of where they are and where we really feel and what we saw last year, but that's what it is. So Penn State win. And Notre Dame win is why Ohio State's number 1, not Georgia beat Florida.
But, when Georgia plays Tennessee, though, that's their shot at that top 25 win. They beat Tennessee, and they beat Tennessee pretty good. I could totally see Georgia slipping back up there.
Whoa. Ole Miss is ranked higher than Tennessee, Mike. So if Georgia beats Ole Miss, boom, that's it right there. Those are enough.
Well, they'll have 2. They'll have 2. That's potential 2 right
so
there.
They have plenty of chance. I'm telling you, if they beat Ole Miss, it's right there. It's right there. Especially we see Ole Miss win this weekend. So, any other questions, comments? Travis, thanks for coming in there, buddy. Novoski, anybody else? We got 11 in the chat, man. I'm loving this shit. Bring it. Questions, concerns, comments. All right. We're going to sign it out there, Mike. Great show. One of the best there, buddy. All I got to say is go Gators.
Go Canes, baby. Go Canes.
All right.
Thanks
so
week
much,
10.
guys.
Good luck this week.